you got there in the back on the wall?
Oh, I got Al Green and Billie Holiday.
Yeah, I thought that was Billy over there.
Yeah.
You got some good. This is gonna be a good interview. You're starting off with some good taste right there.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I went all the way to Al Green's church in Memphis last year. I'm quite a big fan. Yeah, he wasn't there though. But maybe I should have gone on a Sunday. That would have done it. I loved this movie so much. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I want to start with you, RZA. I wanted to talk about just this cast. I mean, you've compiled not just Shameik, but you've got the likes of Terrence Howard, Wesley Snipes, Ethan Hawke. I mean, it must make your job just that little bit easier when you know that you can leave these characters in the hands of such talented performers.
I mean, yeah, a great cast of talent, of course. It doesn't make the job easier. It makes it a little more nerve-wracking because when you're playing with such great talent, you have a responsibility. It's like you're playing with fine jewelry, fine crystals, and you can't drop it, right? And I didn't drop it. I was delicate with it, and everybody came to the table when they brought their A game, and I think they didn't just appear in the film; they elevated the film.
Yeah, is that the case for you, Shameik? When you're collaborating with such brilliant actors, it must just raise your game as well, just naturally.
Yeah. I've been on a humble walk these last couple months, so I can say yes. But before then, I would say that I like to lead. I'll say it now. What am I like to come to set, and I like to feel like I'm bringing the energy for people to. But every time, every step, every scene, every person I work with, I get better, and I like to walk on set feeling like the leading man. What's the mood? Okay, here we go. You know what I'm saying? If it's already at 100, we're taking it to 150. You know what I'm saying? If it's intense already, we're going to make it even more intense. It's just, if we in a fight, somebody's got to go down. You know what I'm saying? This is how I'm feeling about it.
And RZA, I wanted to speak about, obviously, Hurricane Katrina. And it's so interesting to see a film set in the kind of aftermath of all that. Because for people like me, I just watched the news and it was all over the news worldwide for like 2 months. But then as far as my life is concerned, it's gone. But for other people, this is affecting lives and livelihoods and a whole community and a whole area of New Orleans forever for people's lives. And I just wondered about how important it was for you to show the continuous impact that the hurricane had on that whole city.
It was very important for us, for the writer Paul Kashuri and myself, to show that it's not just a news clipping. These are people's lives, and look, the people I could say have recovered, right? Because the lower Ninth Ward people are warm, hospitality, they're good people, but the community still has not recovered, and it may never recover, right? We shot on location, and the house that was Blink's house right next door was an abandoned house. It wasn't like we didn't have to build nothing. It was like, oh, there's an abandoned house right there. So when Lucinda gets to walk her frames and walk from one house to another, from Andre's to Blink house, all we gotta do is pull the camera back because this is exactly how it looks, right? And for us, to show that our community, the Black and brown community and poor communities overall, never service right, and we are not. You just can't turn off the TV and the problem is gone. The problem is still there, and hopefully a film could provoke a conversation about the problem and maybe find a solution.
And I thought it was so interesting as well, because obviously what some of the characters and what characters like Blink are doing is, like, you would condemn those actions on the surface. I mean, there are innocent lives obviously at stake, and it's kind of obviously you wouldn't necessarily say they're flawed kind of characters. But RZA, I was wondering about the balance of tone, because obviously, despite the fact we might not necessarily support everything that they're doing, we remain compassionate and on the protagonist's side the whole way through. And I just wondered about getting that kind of balance right in the edit and in the tone of the movie.
Yeah, that was important. Look, when I talked to Shameik about the film, and he, and him coming on as Blink, I also noticed a quality about him as a person. Shameik is a great talent in the sense he's not Blink, but he's able to channel that energy. But he has something. He has a quality about himself that's. He has a charm about himself that you can meet when you talk to him, right? And so I wanted that to exist in the character. So starting the film with the wedding, right? And the optimism of young men lets you understand that our community is not full of gangsters and drug dealers and all that. He's a college kid, yo. It's a kid that's striving to be an artist, and life goes bad. And when it goes bad, you should be able to get help. But the very people who are supposed to give the help denies you of the help. And so I think once we establish that in the film, and even though, you know, our boys end up with guns and punching people in the faces and kicking people down and taking money, you understand that, yo, these guys are a victim of circumstance. And as Demira said in the movie, which is one of my favorite lines that she says to Ethan Hawke, which is something I'm very adamant about, Stefan, is that she says to him, my husband is not a criminal. Now, we just watched him do crime, right? But he's not a criminal by nature. And that's something I hope the audience take away, that you look at a black man in a situation, or anybody who's struck with calamity, it's not just their nature, it's their circumstance sometimes.
Yeah, Shameik, what's the case for you in that character? I mean, not just necessarily the character in Blink, but as a rule of thumb, as an actor, do you have to always understand the motives and with everyone you portray? Do you have to like characters you portray, you think, in order to properly get to the truth of them?
Absolutely. I think I have to find places. I don't want to be acting when I'm acting, like, at all. Like, for me, the lines are like, you know, luckily, you know, when it comes to RZA, he's like a wordsmith, like, you know, he's poetic, you know, so I'm not worried about lines and anything. And most of the stuff that I'm involved in, we you know, we're pretty good at the roles that we choose or accept. But I think when it comes to I learn my lines 10 minutes before I shoot, which I wouldn't suggest to any, you know, upcoming actors or anything. It could really backfire. But for me, I like to know who the character is, so that my presence and my essence and what I'm saying and my energy in the moment, whatever the scene is more about how do you I want you to feel like you're meeting me. Like, you think that is me on screen, because it is. But when you meet me and you meet the real me, like RZA was saying, I'm nothing like Blink. You know, I'm nothing like Raekwon. I'm not these characters. But tapping into it just takes some guidance. It takes, you know, really just, you know, being able to just empty myself. Like, this isn't about Shameik. This is about Blink. You know, I think the hardest scene for me in this movie and Cutthroat actually was that scene with T.I. And you know, his gun was empty and my gun, I had the bullet in and I just couldn't, because in real life, I've never shot a gun at somebody. So I'm like, if I'm about to do this right now, what is my emotion? Like, you know? So I remember, like, that might have been the most difficult scene for me. And that's because that's the type of actor I am. I almost have to do it in order to not act on camera. You know what I mean? Like, that's a style of, which also makes acting kind of dangerous for the type of person, you know, the approach I take. So yeah, that's my answer.
And Rick, I know obviously you're a big fan of like anime and stuff, and I just wondered if that's something like the character of Blink that you've been interested in kind of your whole life, or is it a passion that you've kind of developed as you've got older?
In anime?
Yeah.
You know, yeah. I mean, cartoons, animations, anime, all of that is fire. Yeah, since I was young.
Yeah, and
Sure.
is that the case for you, RZA, as well? Because I know obviously you're into that sort of stuff.
Of course. My anime collection is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I go way back from Akira, you know what I mean, all the way up to, you know, I'm just feeding on One Punch Man right now on Netflix. You like One Punch Man, yo?
Yeah, I seen it. My brother's a little bit more on the One Punch Man wave, but I rewatched Akira probably a week ago or 2 weeks ago. It's funny.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I was on that.
That was a rewatch, or you saw it in the past, or you just got on it?
Yeah. It's on Hulu now, I think. Yeah.
We're talking of great like animations. Obviously, Shameik, I interviewed you back in London for Spiderverse sort of a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
But I remember when I interviewed you, I'd only seen half an hour of the film because it was unfinished at the time I did the interview. But I just wondered at that stage when I met you, were you aware of how special a project you were sitting on? Because it's gone on to become a kind of pop culture phenomenon. It's an incredible movie, one of the best animations kind of all time. I just wondered when we met, was that something you had already, did you know you were sitting on something quite special?
I believe in God, and I think everything I do is sitting on something special. I think I have a whole chamber of special stuff sitting on. That's how I feel. So the fact that Spider-Man had its trajectory and whatnot, it's already Spider-Man. You know what I mean? So I think the element we brought to it, yeah, I knew. I mean, to answer, long story short, I knew. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of talk at the moment about this. They're trying to bring all these Spider-Mans together. So there's sort of Tom Holland's going to be joining up potentially with Tobey Maguire. And I'm not going to ask you if you're going to be in it, but I just wondered if you'd entertain the idea one day of doing a live-action version of Miles.
See, this is a funny question we're asking. I'm gonna have to plead the fifth for the second, for the moment.
Okay. You plead the fifth, as Dave Chappelle said.
But going back to the movie, I mean, you mentioned RZA about people taking a chance on people, and when Blink goes for that job interview and they kind of overlook him, are you a believer that people's futures and destiny can go back to moments like that and rely on people just taking your chance and giving them a fair shot?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it happens every day. You know what I mean? And it happened to me. You know, so I when you do a film, you try to, even though the characters could be based in fiction, you try to bring something real to it. And that man turning him down when he was truly qualified, and then he told the man the exact quote that he gave, right? And he's gonna tell that's like me telling you right now, look, man, 5 + 5 is 10. As long as you got that, you're gonna always know how to add. Then you come to me and you're like, because 5 + 5 is 10. I'm like, well, not exactly. You could, who's telling you this information? It's like, yo, you motherfucker.
You. Yeah.
And that's the black man. Many men, but I'm gonna speak on the black man because I'm living the black man experience. We face that a lot, yo. You know what I mean? And I wanted that part to be in the film, and it is, and it's something that Blake comes home, and a lot of people will become defeated by that. Fortunately, the RZA wasn't defeated by that. Okay, somebody told me to my face, Wu-Tang will never sell. An executive told me that. He said, it'll never work, it'll never sell. You guys, look at the hoodies, look at this stuff. And you know what happened? About 3 years later, that guy was working for me.
I like that. Because I saw Wu-Tang at Glastonbury a few years ago. It was one of the best afternoons of my life. I think you guys came on just after BB King, which was an amazing.
Oh, yeah. I know that one.
Yeah, it was amazing. I just wondered, because obviously this last year, Glastonbury was cancelled and all kind of festivals and stuff are cancelled. But from an audience point of view, I miss being in those situations. I miss seeing live acts. I miss being in that kind of crowd and that environment. What's it like from a performer's point of view? That's to both of you, because I know you both perform. Do you miss being up there? Do you miss being in those situations and being in front of a crowd?
Of course. I mean, we miss being on set right now. It's like, I mean, we our life is entertaining and creating art. That's what we do. That's our voice. And the pandemic has stopped the immediate growth of that. Fortunately for us, we had this movie in the can, right? And there's other product that I'm quite sure that we have, and we still can create, but we don't create excuse this word. Creating is not masturbating. We're not creating to satisfy ourselves. We're creating to share. And the pandemic is kind of blocking some of that sharing. So I can't get on stage and perform. I can't even go on set and have people do what they do to bring a story to life. So, and I pass the mic to Shameik on that.
Yeah, for me, I mean, I haven't performed on a stage since I was like 15. So, um, in that sense, I was definitely looking forward to 2021 being entertaining, but it looks like 2021 has its own plans. It's revealing, unraveling. And as far as like being on set and whatnot, you know, everything RZA said, honestly, is just, happy my mom has been my business manager up until this point. It's time to, go up to the next level now that things are going up. But yeah, I've saved enough money to have me good for this year. You know what I'm saying? So lights are on, and you know what I'm saying. We did good, so I'm very excited for 2021, and yeah, that's pretty much that's my answer.
Yeah, but Shameik, because I know you've obviously so creative, got such a creative mind. I just wondered if you'd get into directing like RZA has as well. Is that something you've given much thought to about the future of your career?
I might have just there's some things I intend to share. I want to pace myself, but I definitely I'm not hanging around RZA to to not learn, or Baz Luhrmann or Rick Famuyiwa or whoever it is that I get hired by. I'm not going to just come up there and not learn something. So yeah.
And I can't have both of you on the same Zoom and not ask you, Shameik, about just because I know you've rapped before as well. Just how much of a huge kind of inspiration Wu-Tang have been on you as well, and just hip hop and culture in America. Because obviously I grew up listening to all of your music, RZA, and I just wondered, Shameik, if you had the same experience.
Wu-Tang wise, that was more of a recent, that was between 2018 and 2020 for me. And not because I never heard of them or something, obviously it's Wu-Tang, but more because the content. I grew up in a Christian school. They would definitely be calling Wu-Tang. They call reggae music devil music. So I'm sure any cut your dick off and hang it off the side of the building, all that type of, I wasn't allowed to listen to that. But when I was able to appreciate it, yeah, definitely, like when I'm working out, it's either Biggie or it's Wu-Tang for me, because I'm boxing. So anytime, even getting into character and stuff, all of that is honestly, since I've done Wu-Tang, how I handle verbal confrontation is different. It's just kind of like all of it. It's definitely added something to my aura, But that's New York in general. In Atlanta, I learned to look out, but in New York, I learned to look in. So it was RZA has been a major inspiration since he's been in my life. So absolutely.
And how's the last few months been for you, RZA? Because I know you're someone who you've been creatively inclined for ever since you were young. I'm just wondering if you've managed to keep yourself kind of creatively stimulated over the past few months.
Well, yeah, definitely I've been creatively stimulated. The pandemic has definitely reduced my movement, but I actually been blessed. My wife is so happy that I'm home, first of all, okay? I never been home this long. Mine's just, she loves it. I haven't been home this long, brother, since I was a kid, probably, okay? But point being made, though, I'm now getting a chance to digest a lot of things I took in. You know what I mean? So that's the beauty of creativity. Sometimes you need, you go out in the world and you absorb things and you really never get a chance to get it all out. I probably made over 50 beats during the pandemic, and wrote all type of lyrics. And I'm not writing it. I mean, it may never be exploited, but I just want to say my creative sword is intense, My study of film, I've probably seen over 100 films during the pandemic. And my study has been great. That it's almost like don't put RZA back in the chamber. Right? That's like leaving King Kong alone on the island. I'm gonna grow 40 feet on you. All right.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for your time today, guys. It's been a real pleasure speaking to you both, and best of luck with the release and everything going forwed.
Okay, Shameik. Hey, see you soon, brother.
Peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey, you guys.